I'll start from the very beginning. Sam had arrived a little before Phil and plugged everything in. Already the stage heaved with cable spaghetti. The drum machine, the speakers, microphones. A strange black box that neither Sam nor Phil would explain to me. I'd caught Sam after one of his shows and expressed the matter. But seriously, I said, the box just sits there. It's a good 2 by 2 meters. How do you, I don't know, strut or walk around while playing? Musicians dance when performing, don't they? Sam looked at me as if I drank goat's piss for pleasure. You've seen us play how many times? Have you ever seen us dance? I'm playing the piano. You can't play the piano and walk around, Jack. That just doesn't work. It'd be impractical and dangerous. Fine. But what if one of you trips over it walking off stage? We don't. Why bring it if you don't use it? It looks heavy. But it isn't. To prove me wrong, he took the massive cube, its blackness so deep that time seemed to bend in its vicinity, and held it aloft and high with one hand. It only appears to be heavy. Can I be frank? Phil turned up late. He batted away the question of where he'd been, unpacked his bass and his guitar and left them on the stands. The bar was beginning to fill up, but still was not even half full. This was a good turnout. Once they played an ill-judged time slot of 4 AM on a Wednesday to a room consisting of me. Even the owner, Alan Quilt, buff and tattooed but with librarian eyes, didn't feel like waking up, so he entrusted me with the keys. A grave error, of course, as I made a mistake with the alarm, should have written the code down, and half a grand's worth of liquor, primarily gin, was stolen by local miscreants. On the higher end of miscreants, I assured him. At least the perpetrators had expensive taste. Your bar attracts higher quality thieves. This didn't assuage him, and I paid for the loss. The gig was one of Paris and the Hiltons' best. What a shame only I saw it, half asleep, in my pyjamas, frantically trying to carry a room's worth of applause on my own too tired and lone hands. The bar, it was called Doug's Wake. What does that mean? No clue. One might assume Doug to be a name, but no one of that moniker worked there. Alan Quilt said that he had not chosen the name, even though he'd opened the bar and painted the sign himself. A crystal ball stood on the tiny marble podium in the stockroom, covered with a purple velvet cloth. Perhaps spirits dictated the name to dear Alan Quilt. Death does not an expert in branding make. No word of a lie, I once saw a bemused middle-aged man enter the establishment thinking it was a gardening shop. I'm still unsure whether the wake referred to a funeral shindig or referenced the state of unsleep. It didn't matter, it doesn't matter. But the name seemed to dictate the equally ramshackle interior. Nothing in the place matched. An antique burgundy sofa sat at a scratch table with futurist leather chairs, and broken lava lamps dotted the room, tying in with a 70s theme that didn't exist. The drinks were cheap, though Alan Quilt made a joke, unpleasantly, of always putting my beer in a wine glass because he thought me a cunt. I hope the bouquet is to your taste, my liege. For a while I played along as a form of bonding, an unusual banter, but the joke kept going and going, louder and louder, until the realisation came that Alan Quilt really wanted to upset me, and his hate was very real. With his instruments set up, and Sam idly plinking at keys to pass the time, Phil sat on the bar stool and slapped down his palm. "Alan Quilt, when are we on?" he shouted. "You were meant to be on 10 minutes ago," said Alan Quilt, "and the audience is getting restless. It's not helping that Sam's just sitting on the stage. People think he's gone solo. Sam, get off the stage!" Sam stayed on the stage. "Only 10 minutes ago. Excellent. A nice bourbon to merry the throat, please, Alan Quilt." I took a seat next to Phil. He didn't seem to notice me. My stool was damp, giving me about 5 minutes before my trousers soaked, just so it looked like I'd pissed myself. Time was of the essence. But while he'd got Alan Quilt's attention... "Alan Quilt," I called. "Another beer, please, if that's okay." He snorted. "Want me to dab a little lemonade in there for you, my liege?" The bourbon's amber looked polluted and strange, but Phil snatched it upon serving and glugged the brew in one swift jerk. "Don't be an arsehole and get him his beer. In a real glass." Phil smiled and spun around. "Not many people tonight, are there? Though I suppose it'll fill up soon." I eyed the crowd. The ratio of women to men was about 3 to 1, which made for a good atmosphere. Too many men promised violence. A short blonde girl at the front even had begun screaming with lust and pleasure towards Sam, who'd given an embarrassed nod in response. Most stood talking in clumps, checking their phones and watches, awkwardly manoeuvring around each other while trying not to spill their drinks. Phil stood up and clapped. "Suppose we better start then." As he marched onto the stage, raising a hand in thanks to the accompanying whoops and roars, Alan Quilt set down my wine glass full of beer and demanded exact change. With the applause fading out, actually no, first I'll mention something else, as I'm attempting to make this an honest account of things. An attractive woman came and sat down next to me at the bar. I'd spun around and leaned all nonchalant against the bar. You've seen it done. No doubt it calls the rat pack to mind. If I had a tie on, I'd have undone it and let it flap down either side, top button open, stubble shadow creeping over my face, tired eyes suggesting hedonism and creativity. This is the kind of spirit I was emulating. And by God it worked, because now listen to this. She said hello. Hello to you there as well, I said. Having a good night? Let's pause the conversation. I've done a disservice, both as a writer and a man, in not telling you about this girl's appearance. The reason for my interruption of the narrative, as it got away from me, is to detail a few things about said woman, to convey my attraction. It will also serve to illuminate a few characteristics of my own, should it interest you. It's true that I'm more than a little partial to green eyes. Hers were. That's the physical aspect of my preferences, without descending into unnecessary vulgarity. But in her manner thrummed a kind of easy intelligence, of casual interest without condescension, and this vibe played loud and clear, and I, dutiful little tuning fork, shook along to it. Yes, just fancied a drink and saw a band was playing, so why not? I've got the day off tomorrow. She paused to take a gulp of pear cider. I know, and smile. I grinned like a simpleton. Her jeans were torn in all the right places. The girl broke rules, that much was clear, by the rips and slight tinge of red dye in her hair. But they were stupid rules, bureaucratic dictations, the kind we can all find thrill and destruction of. She wasn't anything like an arsonist. But is there a grander aphrodisiac than rebellion? Albeit the rebellion that is controlled and thus less scary. No, reader, the lack of question mark in the previous sentence is not a mistake. There's no need for it to be confirmed. We are in agreement. We're in agreement. Ha 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 ha! I've got the day off tomorrow as well, and I came here to have a drink, but also to see the band, because, in fairness, this is where we differ. I know them, and so I'm here to watch them, actually, not just to get a drink. So anyway, enough about me. What's your name? I tried to play it cool, but the words sluiced out. She smiled, and it was free of pity. Your friend Jack, me, might be in luck. Once I caught a box of raisins in the supermarket with the bridge of my foot, and as it balanced there, as if I were a ninja shopping, a middle-aged lady told me I was suave. Sometimes I still conjure that memory up if I'm low. Perhaps she was right. My name's Amy, not spelled the normal way, spelled similar to like in French, if you understand me. Oh, I do. What an enchanting name. I raised my hands up for some reason, as if attempting to convey its magnificence, almost sloshing her with my beer. My name will disappoint you because it's dull. My name's Jack, like the tool. Or the boy with the beanstalk. Yes! Exactly! Exactly! Except I'm not a farmer, obviously. Tell you something, though. I'd never have fallen for that magic beans trick. Lucky is what he was. Where are the stories rewarding children for good sense? He was just as likely to be scammed, and he sold his family up the river for a fanciful notion. Isn't that part of the adventure, though? She'd leaned in a little closer, and sweet Jesus, she smelled nice, like walking potpourri in a sexy poultice. Maybe. I'm not against adventure. I bet I could kill a giant. The band played on. Amy set down her cider and ordered us both another drink. Alan Quilt, tired of his old trick, brought my drink in a cup and saucer of unusually high quality with blue floral patterns. A kind I'd never seen used at the bar, and I suspected him of buying them especially to mock me. Here you go, miss, he said. And your beverage, my liege, he hissed at me. We have to give credit to Alan Quilt and his drink-pouring talents, because he'd somehow managed a great feat of finesse in writing twat in the foam of my beer. I drank it down, hoping I'd ingest the foam, but not the word. Why do you not have a glass? Amy asked. Oh, just a joke between us, the bartender and myself, I said, ignoring Alan Quilt's obscene gestures at me from just out of her eye line. What do you think of the band? A simple question, but I'd alter the trajectory of our lives with that question. You don't know this yet because we're early on in the narrative. So remember what I'm telling you. It's all about to kick off. Because she said her opinion. They're rather good, really. Fusing cabaret style with hard rock. I really like it. They have charisma and a certain unnatural quirk. I can imagine listening to this of my own volition. It's a band to get behind early. The words came out with the thought desperately tottering after. Oh yeah, I said. Well, I agree. And that's why I'm their manager. Can you imagine what a pair of eyes look like when they're waking up? When they see you anew and shine bright with respect? Can you even imagine receiving a look of respect? Or of genuine interest from the opposite sex, born not from boredom or for lack of better options, but of real unfiltered want? No, neither could I. But here it happened. In that moment, glorious moment, Amy wanted me. Seriously? Oh yeah, I'm a big believer in Paris and Hiltons. I even helped write a few of their songs. Too far? Wow, I wouldn't have guessed. I just thought you were a lonely drunk. Nope, a supportive manager. We should discuss perhaps what direction you think the band should go in. And we should have dinner together to do so, maybe. What do you think about that? About dinner? An idea spiraled around the room, a ricocheting word bullet, and lodged not in her mind or her heart, but the woodwork table made sticky by cheap lager. Its symbolic resonance settled on her, though. The vibrations through her glass picked everything up, and she said it. She said, "Sure, why not?" And with her number scribbled on a napkin. That was that. After Phil and Sam had finished their jam, their psychedelic boogaloo, Sam went off to the toilet, urination at a guess, and Phil ambled over, all smiles and sunshine, and Amy pivoted to meet him, purely, I'm sure, out of politeness. For even Phil would admit that I'm the more attractive man. This is perhaps relative, being in the eye of the beholder, if you will, but if you, sweet lady, were seeking a classically handsome man, chiselled jaw, tall rippling muscles, an Adonis, a physical peak of perfection, a Batman, then look no further. Here I stand. My mother first told me I was handsome after Gemma, a bitch at nursery school, told me I smelled and stamped on the bluebells I'd picked for her. Not that I even remember that or think about it ever. It doesn't still affect me at all. My dreams are peaceful. I don't cry through the night. "Hello there," Phil said. Hi," said I. "No, Jack, I was introducing myself to this gorgeous woman at your side. I don't believe we've had the pleasure of acquainting ourselves. I'm Phil. This little folly on the stage was one of my own devising. Hopefully it provided amusement." "A pleasure to meet you," said Amy. "I'm Amy. You were really very good indeed." They shook hands. A little too long. Scientists have proven that the more physical contact that occurs between two people, the more potent an attraction blooms. A quick plan then. I slapped my hand down on their intermingled palms and forcibly broke them, saying, "All for one and one for all! Aren't we three musketeers?" Improv is my bedfellow. Phil wasn't fazed. He ploughed on, looking deep into Amy's green eyes, unwavering gaze, and then both her and I began to sway in its hypnotic presence, two snakes charmed senseless. "Now let me guess," Phil said. "I bet your name is spelled like the French for like. Am I correct?" She looked startled. Would it be wrong to just sort of walk between them? "Yes! You're the first person to not just assume it's spelled the regular way. How did you know?" Phil put his hand on the shoulder, like a five-fingered tumour. "I'm French." "Swoon then, demon woman. Women do not like me. Why? An ex-girlfriend who'd taken the world's rebuffs to be systemic, and not an adverse reaction to her manipulative and cruel personality, once called me a misogynist. She was wrong, let me go on the record with that. I love women. I just don't know how to show it. If anything, I'm a sick puppy that dilly-dallies after their perfumed step, trying on different poses and yaps until one day, lucky in my combination, I receive embrace. A kiss, an intercourse, a relationship. These things are the grapes dangling just out of my reach. I'm more charming than you think." These ruminations made a full spin cycle, deep clean. As Amy and Phil got to talking, I knew some drastic measures had to be taken. It had to seem as if from an outside party, so that my desperation remained subliminal. Whom in the room did I know? Sam had come out of the bathroom, but had become obscured by the crowd of people, able to weave among them as he was. No other faces stood out. This was a room of strangers.